Welcome back, America. Former Congressman John Campbell filling in for Hugh Hewitt today on the Hugh Hewitt Show, and I thought you were supposed to play Chris Stapleton. Maybe next time, Adam Youngman, you'll do that for Generalissimo Dwayne. But we have Byron York on the program now. Byron, you there?
I am here. Thank you.
Very good. Of the Washington Examiner and Fox News. So I'm going to try and cover two things with you right now, Byron. First, so Trump comes out and says, that Zelensky, that Ukraine started the war and that he's a dictator and so forth. So on, the left goes absolutely crazy. The propaganda media goes absolutely crazy. Very little that Trump does is without some plan or objective or some purpose. What do you think he's trying to do here? Or was this occasionally he does just flip off and say something? Where do you think this is?
Well, you raise a really interesting question. I think you're right. Trump usually has some purpose behind what he does. And I would just say to begin with, Russia invaded Ukraine. That's just a fact. Now, there are a number of people who emphasize the provocations they say that Ukraine and NATO and others engaged in before the invasion, but the fact is Russia invaded Ukraine. So what is Trump doing? And I have to tell you, my answer right now is I don't really know. But I will say that this Ukraine, his Ukraine strategy has been cloaked in secrecy, but I think it's pretty clear where it's going to end up, which is, if you look at the map of the territory that Russia holds today, that it has taken since the invasion and before, it's about 20% of the country in the eastern part of the country. I think it's pretty clear Russia is going to keep a good bit of that. They give up some. Ukraine will get back some. They'll come up with some sort of provisions to prevent future conflicts, and then the fighting is going to stop. There'll be a deal. I think that's what's going to happen, and I think everything that Trump has done up until now has been directed in trying to get the two sides to that point.
The way I look at it, and by the way, the reason I'm asking you that question is I don't know the answer to it either. So, but the way I look at this is that Zelensky is going to have to accept pretty much whatever deal gets made, assuming that it's not a deal that says Ukraine goes away, and I don't think that's not the deal they're going to do. But why does Putin do it? What's in this for him? What is going to be the carrot that he agrees to do it?
Well, part of it depends on what Putin's original intention was, and I don't know. I mean, did he want to take all of Ukraine, the whole thing? Certainly the invasion was pretty broad when it started. Did he really just want to get that kind of strip of land along the east that he controls right now? Was that the idea? I mean, there had been a war in the Donbass basically for 10 years before the war started in 2022. So I don't know what his actual goal was. We do know that the war has been incredibly costly for Russia in terms of human life, in terms of injured, in terms of military equipment. It's just been enormously expensive. Obviously, they've had to have help from other countries, and the Russians. I'm not an expert on this, but they've apparently just never cared at all about the lives of their soldiers. They've just thrown them at the battlefield by the thousands. And this has been extremely costly. So stopping that would be a real benefit.
Yeah, although, World War I, World War II, the Napoleonic Wars, the Russians throwing their soldiers into a meat grinder is not a new condition. And certainly a lot of what I've read or indicated is that, is that Putin, of course, we don't know this, but that he didn't want NATO missiles, 50 miles or 75 miles from Moscow. And the same way we didn't want missiles in Cuba. But enough for that. Let me just switch because I want to get one other subject for you before we run out of time here, which is the budget. So I played a clip earlier that Speaker Johnson says they're going to get a budget tonight. Do you think they're going to get a budget tonight? And where do you think that is all headed? And
if they do, I think it'll be a miracle. I mean, I'll just be amazed. Right now, the balance of the House is 218 Republicans to 215 Democrats, and the only reason it's 218 is because Elise Stefanik, who Trump nominated to be the UN ambassador, has not resigned. They haven't let Elise Stefanik go be the UN ambassador because they need her vote in the House so much. But anyway, all Mike Johnson, the Speaker, can do is lose one vote, if all the Democrats show up. One vote, and if he loses two, he loses the vote. So, we've already heard Thomas Massie say he's not going to vote for this. Of course, he's probably not going to vote for anything. The idea that nobody else is going to go along is pretty amazing. And if Johnson can pull it off, and by the way, they did pull it off in the Speaker's election, if he can pull it off, that'll be incredible.
Let me ask you this, Byron York, because let's just say they pass this. This is just a broad outline. So it has the $4 trillion or whatever of at the moment tax extension or cut extensions, whatever you want to call them. But we don't know exactly what they are, and a certain amount of spending cuts of $1 trillion or $1.5 trillion, whatever it is, and we don't know what those are. So let's just say they pass it. Isn't the really tough part once those details are put in? Because go ahead.
I don't fully understand how this process works, but one of the parts of the cutting spending process, is they've decided to allocate a certain amount that needs to be cut by committee. That is, the Armed Services Committee needs to cut X number of $billion, or the Intelligence Committee needs to cut X number of $1 billion in spending, or the various committees need to cut spending in their area of jurisdiction. And it's not written down. I mean, it's not set up. You're right. This is a very early vote that really does not get into the details of the problem.
Byron York, thank you so much. You can find him on Fox News. You can follow him on X at Byron York. Can you believe it? It's actually his name on X, which is not me. I'm at Look Through the Chaos. Be right back, America.